And this is a much-needed get-right spot for Bob Stoops. Um, Again, if you needed any indication what these odd makers think of Orlando, this isn't even technically a road game for them. Remember, they are home at the XFL hub. So home field advantage, while those Arlington fans will be out, it's not really that much in play here. Um, just as much of a home game for Orlando as Arlington, even flying to the Sunshine State like they did in their loss to San Antonio last week. That's actually more of a road game for them. Still 8.5-point dogs. You can still get the fighting Terrell Buckleys at 16-1 in Vegas to win it all. Arlington, though, with their own issues, they have a plethora of things to fix. I thought the defense held up pretty strong against Houston, but if you look at what Brandon Silvers did to Orlando in week 1, he absolutely took a step back. So that shows you kind of common opponent here. That's credit to the secondary in Arlington. And then you got Willie Taylor in the linebacking core. He had a big sack. Donald Payne back to his ways, just hitting guys left and right. Third in the league in tackles for Payne. And they create turnovers here. 4 forced fumbles, 4 fumbles recovered. 100% success rate. Obviously, they had the 2 pick sixes off of Luis Perez in week 1. And I think Arlington's defense set up to feast on whoever it's going to be for Orlando. Again, they cut Quentin Dormady, so now their quarterback room includes Paxton Lynch and DeAndre Francois. And as of airtime, they have not announced a third quarterback yet. I think they're still in the interview process with Mikey Manziel. Hey, at least we know one thing about Mikey. He's going to put his balls on the line for you, Orlando. Maybe that's what you need. You need a little bit of heart. They did make a move this week signifying they might be sticking with Paxton Lynch as their starter going forward. They went out and got Lance Lenoir. If you don't know him, he was Lynch's top receiver in the summer league over in Birmingham. And although he's now an Orlando Guardian, he was technically not part of the XFL draft. So this is what you need. Maybe some fresh faces coming in to revitalize that culture. John Maine Martin, got to give it to him, still 4th in the league in rushing, although he hasn't scored a touchdown. I think when you get an opportunistic magnet, like a ball magnet type of defense, going against an offense like Robert Ford's, which has been prone to turnovers, you're going to see some. It could get ugly. Orlando has scored on both of their opening possessions this season, but hasn't been able to do anything after that. They've scored twice in the first quarter on their first drive, twice in the fourth quarter. By that time, they were being blown out already. So I'm going to take the odds on Orlando not scoring on their first drive. They are not the Philadelphia Eagles, who I think scored every single time they had a first drive. That's not going to happen. So take that bet. No points for Orlando on drive 1 this time. Flipping sides of the ball, the Arlington offense against that Orlando defense. I would say there may be a little quarterback controversy here in Arlington. The problem is Kyle Sloter hasn't played yet, and that's about to change. Tonight, the Dallas News reporting Kyle Sloter is the guy. QB1 will get the go for the Arlington Renegades. And again, they have been underwhelming on offense, so we'll see what Sloter can do here. Both scores they had against Houston came off of special teams takeaways. I think they started from the plus 23 and the plus 40. They got to sustain drives. Their starting left tackle, Teton Saltz, according to XFL analysts, right to the IR, so now they need more offensive linemen. Orlando's going to get a few tackles for loss here. I think the Guardians actually second in the league in that category with 14 tackles for loss, even though their offensive stats don't stack up. At least they have some TFLs. But I lean this being the coming out party for the Arlington Renegades. And again, when you're at that crossroads of Plitt and Sloter, it's a crucial point in the season. If they struggle again with 10, do they go back to 9? They need more than 2 offensive touchdowns, which is all they've got this year. It's not good enough for a team I legitimately thought had the best roster on paper. So you got to go out and execute. Lean on Keith Ford. Lean on Davion Smith and Adrian Killens. Your running backs are good, and you got to get a 100-yard rusher and use that balanced spread attack. You got good receivers. Canella, Smallwood, Tyler Vaughns. We saw Lawan Winningham break out. Spread it around to those guys, you know. Tyler Vaughns and Nate Becker. Nate Becker is a great tight end. He can be used. He scored a touchdown last week. But it starts up front. Cameron Hunt and Garrett McGinn have to be better anchoring that offensive line. They were great in Birmingham last year, and I think they'll be good here on Sunday. Arlington is the pick, and I do lean the Baby Blues covering at home. Zook. Who you got? Well, I mean, even Mikey, right? Well, he's not allowed to pick a team that he might end up being on because I think that's a conflict of interest. But he's going to even go Renegades. So any chances of Mikey Manziel signing with the Orlando Guardians have just evaporated.